Hi everyone, it's Katie. I'm the artist at Personal Artwork, and today I'm just going to do a quick tutorial just on how to draw black fur. Now I did put a post on my Facebook page a few days ago just asking people what they are struggling with, what they would like to see a tutorial for, and a lot of the fellow artists have asked me how I draw black fur, mostly with coloured pencils. So today I'm just going to do a tutorial on coloured pencils. Now, my dog, Jess, this is Jess, and she is a working type Cocker Spaniel, and I'm just going to do a section of this photo. I'm not going to do the full portrait, don't worry, it's not going to be a long-winded video. I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible. So today I'm just going to do a part of her face just to show you the technique that I use. It is quite lengthy because I do use very light layers and I build up as I go along, but I'll show you the technique as I go along. So I'm going to take a portion of Jess's face. I'll probably work on this bit here because there's quite a lot of detail going on this top part of her face. This is where the light is catching her fur, and there's quite a lot of detail going on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a part of it. Sorry Jess, I'm going to cut into your head now. Look at her beautiful little eyes. Right. So, the paper that I'm going to be using is this extra smooth Bristol board. I think we'll just do it, yeah, we'll do it landscape. And I'm just going to do this section here of a little face. So, with coloured pencils, what I like to do, you can do it differently if you like, but the way that I do it is I start from light to dark. Now, as you'll see in Jess's fur, there is a lot of cold colours. So you'll see where the light hits, it is quite cold and quite a lot of blues in there. But you can also see quite a lot of brown in here. So we need to concentrate on getting the warm colours in there as well. So generally with a black dog, with black fur, it will pick up a lot of the blue tones. So it is quite cold. So I generally like to use cold greys and then build up to the black. So the pencils that I use are Faber-Castell Polychromos, and we do have in their rather large selection a few cold greys, and you'll see the difference in the cold greys. They go from light to dark. You've also got a selection of warm greys as well. So if you do use warm greys and darker greys, they would be suitable. We've got this dark one. This is quite a small one. You can see how much I've used it. It's quite well used. And then we'll build it up and then get into the darker greys. Probably add a bit of warm grey in there as it meets the black. And then we'll introduce some browns. Right, so first of all, I like to start off with, so we'll go with cold grey 1. We'll call this cold grey 1 because it's the lightest of the cold greys. And then just start building up a very light layer of this cold grey. So you can see this, it's like a V on the top of her head. And then just get a very light layer on there. It's quite a lot lighter as you get to the edges, and then a lot lighter here where the light is really hitting her fur. So we'll get a light layer in there. Doesn't have to be perfect at this point because the detail will be added as you add the darker layers, and obviously the final layers will be the detail layers. So we'll just get this in rather quick, and then we'll bring it down here. So her eye would be here, and this is where it comes up, and then you've got that V at the top. Okay, so now we're going to go with Cold Grey 2. Cold Grey 2 is obviously a little bit darker, so we're going to pick out these darker areas here. Just going to zoom in a little bit just so you can see a little bit clearer. There. So you can see this is a little bit darker here and darker here, but this is very light as it comes round the top. So with your Cold Grey 2, just start building that layer. And start adding in the darker tones. Now we don't want to touch this bit too much at the moment because that is very dark. This bit here, that's very dark there and very dark at the top here. So we don't want to touch those areas. We want to get these cold greys in here. Okay. Now, as you'll notice, I'm not scrubbing hard. I'm doing a very light layer. And the reason for this is because, especially with smooth Bristol board, you'll find that you can only get so many layers on the paper. So if you do lots of dark layers or very heavy layers, you'll be restricted with how much more you can put on. So when you come to put on your detail, you will really struggle to get those extra layers on. So doing lighter layers and building it up slowly, just like this, is a lot easier. And it'll save you a lot of elbow grease at the end. So I'm just getting this darker bit in here. There we go. And a bit more dark here as it comes down. Now you might think that it's tiresome going through so many different colours, so many different layers, but that is how you get a realistic fur. If you just went straight in there with this dark grey, you wouldn't get the depth of the fur. So it's a lot more realistic if you do it with several layers. It's a lot easier. So we're going to go in with Cold Grey number 3. As you can see, that is quite a bit darker. And then it'll come down into here. There we go. Now there's some more grey here as it meets the black. So I'm just going to add that in now. That is quite a bit darker than the Cold Grey one. We're going to go back to Cold Grey 2 just to blend that in a little bit, just to add a bit more, because as it meets to the eye here, it's quite a bit lighter, just not as light as the Cold Grey one. Okay. Right. Just going to add a bit more of the Cold Grey 3. There. Now that does come round quite a lot there. And then we're going to go on to Cold Grey 4, and this is the last of the cold greys. So we're not going to go over it as much as the lighter greys, because this is where we start adding the detail. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more for you so you can see. There. When doing the detail on the fur, I'll go from the base of the hair and go up, and you can see the hair is going upwards. So start at the base and go up. Again, this is just medium pressure. It's not light, but it's not heavy. I'm not putting heavy pressure on this. I really should have got my extender out. Never mind. And then this is quite a bit darker on this part here. So we'll bring this down. And we'll start to bring it round. I want to add in some darker layers in here as well, because that is quite a bit darker. And then we'll continue this up here. And then add in a little bit of dark in here. Just a little bit. This isn't the final detail layer on that part, because there is some darker areas here, and then you've got the brown that meets the grey. And then we also want to add in some detail in here. So just lightly. I'm just going to add another bit of paper over the top of this because I don't like to smudge with my hand, and this is how I normally work, so I'm just going to do it. If I'm working on a portrait, I always have a piece of paper under my hand, and that stops you smudging anything. And then work out. And this area is a little bit darker in here as well. Now we do have some brown tones in here, so we can introduce those in a moment. Let's just get this in here. Right, so that is all of the cold greys introduced there. So what I'm going to do is just add in, oh no, sorry, there's another cold grey here. We've got the darker cold grey here. So this is the 235. So we'll just use this one just to add in some extra little hairs. Now this is quite dark, this bit, so I'm just going to add a little bit of the cold grey. There's a few darker hairs coming up here. Now this is very dark here. I'm going to start getting some of the shape into a face. So these are darker areas here, and it comes up and round. So now what I like to add is a little bit of sepia. Now this is a warm addition to it, so you don't want to use too much. It's very good to use this around areas where browns meet the blacks and the greys. I use this quite a lot. I think this is probably my 4th pencil that I've been through recently, and it's one of my favourites, so I do like to use that to blend in difference of colour, so from cold to the warm. So I'm just going to add in a little bit in here. Now, as you can see, it is quite dark. If you ever want to test your pencil, obviously you've got these scrap pieces of paper, so just test it to see. Now, you can call it a dark grey, but I tend to see it as more of a browny grey, because it does have some warmth to it. And then I'm just going to use this on here, because there is quite a lot of brown in this area here, but is predominantly black, or as we see it, grey. It's good to see it as it is. I know you'll think, oh, it's black fur, but when you're looking at it from an artist's perspective, it's grey. Just like with white fur, it never looks white. It always looks a different colour, pink, blue, grey. And it's about picking out those colours that's important. So we'll just add a little bit more in here. And then a bit more around this area here, because that is quite dark. Now this part goes up quite lengthy, so you do need to use quite large strokes. I'm not going to come all the way down here. Sorry, I'm not even showing you the picture. I'm not going to come all the way down here and do all this here. I'm just going to try and show you the main part of the head here. This comes down, but we're just going to concentrate on this part. Now, we've got through quite a few pencils here. The lightest area, which is the cold grey one, that is the lightest part. Now, what's important at this stage is that you start blending, and this gives a soft look, a realistic soft look to your portrait, because there aren't necessarily any hard lines. Yes, you'll add in the detail afterwards to pick out those darker areas, but it's important to get it nice and soft. So at this point, I like to blend, and by going over it again with your lighter pencils, with a slight medium pressure, this blends all of your colours together. You see? Now it does get quite light here. I'm just going to add some more of the cold grey one to this area here. And then it comes down here, and it's quite a lot lighter here. So it's just blending. So you don't need to add your detail at this point. It is just blending. I'm just going to blend this a little bit more. And you see how much that has softened up just by adding that one extra layer. we go. And then we go in with Cold Grey 2. Nice and soft. So it's not taking the detail out, it's just softening it. Medium pressure, doesn't have to be hard, just medium pressure as you add in these extra layers. I don't think I've come up far enough on this one. That's fine. It's just a demonstration after all. Soften it right up. Of course, if this was a commission, I would spend a lot more time going over these layers because it does take a long time to do. So let's go with Cold Grey 3. And here, we're not touching these lighter parts here, because that is where, I'll show you, that is where the light's catching it, so that's the lightest part, around there, and around this top area here. So what we need to concentrate on is this part here, and down here. So it's just blending. Blend, blend, blend. Medium pressure again. Now, if you wanted to, what I sometimes do is add blues as well, because this is quite blue. Until you zoom into a photo or print it out like this, it's hard to see the different colours, but zooming in you can see quite a lot of blue in here. So you can add those blues in at this point, you know, while you're smoothing it out with your lighter cold greys. You can just add in blues. Sometimes you can see purple as well, so it's good to get those colours in. And as you can see here, we would introduce brown. I can add some browns in a moment. I'll show you how to do that. But first, what we want to do is try and get these darkest layers in here first. And in here, you would add your blues in now. And you can add your browns in, but I would do that after I've added in the black. So that was Cold Grey 3. So I'm just going to add in some of the darkest Cold Grey. And as you're adding in these darker ones, it's good to try and get some more detail back in. So using that technique from the root to the top, go from the root to the top. And it doesn't have to be uniform, it's good if it's not, because as you can see on here, it's all different. It's not all going straight up. If you look in closely, you'll see there's lots of different angles to the fur. Probably not the best photo to be using, but I wanted to get one with good depth. So I'm just going to add in a little bit more of this Cold Grey. And then we are starting to add more into this darker area here. can see we're starting to get the different tones. I'm not going to do too much on this area here because it is quite dark. I'll add this small little area here. Right, now we can start to see this bit comes up here and this bit comes up round here. So we're going to just add in this V shape. So I like to start with the grey first, and here you want to add a little bit more pressure, not hard, just sort of medium pressure, and it's just to get that definition around here. There is quite a lot of strokes that come round here, so I'm going to show you how to do those. Now, as you can see, they're quite long strokes, so you want to be using long strokes. We'll bring it up here and round. Don't be doing your strokes too close together. That's all dark here. And just keep looking at your reference photo, keep looking back on it. If you think you've made a mistake, rub it out, do it again. There. Now, I am going to rub out a little bit because I did go a little bit too far here, so I'm just going to remove just a few of these hairs here because it is quite light. And I'll just go back over with the cold grey one. There. Right. So now what we're going to do, the fun part, is start adding the black. Now you can see that these are very dark areas here, so we're going to start on those first. Now what you want to do is work from dark to light. And I'm going to show you why you do that. Normally I would say go root to tip, but when you're doing dark areas like this, you want to work from dark to light. Take your time. Do it slowly. And what you'll start to notice is those fine little hairs will start to show. There, it's quite dark here. Just going to fill that in a little bit. You can start with a lighter layer and then just go over it. Don't go crazy, don't go straight in there with the heavy layers, because that is when you start filling up the tooth of your paper. So we're working from dark to light, dark to light. And then you want to leave some spaces for where you've got this lighter area coming up. Fill this in a little bit more. Medium pressure now, just adding in some darker layers. There we go. And then this is very dark in here. I'm just going to bring this up. There we go. And it comes round. You see, go with your reference photo. Have a look and see how the fur is going. You see it's going round the eye. Now there is a highlight coming through here, so I'm just going to erase some of this here. I sometimes like using my eraser as a drawing method. So sometimes if you want to add extra highlights, get your eraser out and just add in your highlights. Right, so we're going from dark to light, dark to light. Keep working round. Now this area is a bit brown here. I'm just going to add there we go. The other thing you can do is just turn your paper just to suit you. So here, because I'm going from the side, it's going to be a lot easier for me to just turn my paper and then obviously turn your reference photo so that you can work from it. And then going from dark to light. You can either sharpen your pencil or turn I tend to turn my pencil quite a lot, rather than sharpening it all the time. There. So this is all very dark here, so just for now I'm just going to scribble that in. But take your time, just do single strands, dark to light. And you'll see you can sometimes just put your reference photo next to it just to check that you've got the right that's probably a bit dark, that area there. I'm just going to add in there you go. Right, and then what we can do is go to one of your medium cold greys. So not the lightest and not the darkest, just go for one of the medium ones. And just blend this out. So going from dark to light again. Just going to take out those. Went a bit crazy there. And it's just about blending. Going from dark to light again. It's just about building up the building blocks, building up the colour. I'm adding a little bit of extra detail in there just because some of these dark hairs do come quite far in here. And you can start adding a bit more pressure as you want in the darker areas to be covered. I'm just scribbling there just to get that edge correct. Bit more detail in here. There we go. A little bit more pressure. Again, this is very dark. Just end it there, I think. There. Sorry, I keep forgetting I've zoomed in and I'm getting carried away. Right, let's turn this back round. So here you will see it's just starting to work together using the darker layers and adding a bit of depth. So I'm just going to add some more of the dark in here. Turning my pencil. There. And now you can start to see some black hair in this area here, so just adding those darker parts there. We'll work on that. As soon as you start adding in the black, it will start to come together. Just using medium pressure. This isn't hard at all. There we go. And it's just keep working at it, just keep going, adding in all those fine details. Pretty dark in there, so we'll add. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so you can see a bit more. It's starting to work now. Now, what you need to do is start working back again. So you've got most of your black areas in. A little bit more black in there. Now there's quite a lot of brown in here, so I'll add those in a moment. So then you go back to your dark sepia. Now I'm doing this really quick now because I'm conscious that people won't be watching for very long. You want to do this rather quick, but this is probably about 45 minutes of drawing. I did speed some of it up just to help you all. Just because I know it does take a very long time to do. And then you're just picking out where those darker areas of grey are. Just like this one. And you're going again from dark to light. I normally really take my time over this, but I'm just doing it a bit quicker. There we go. And just adding in those extra details. Do keep your pencil sharp if you can. It's easy to get carried away, but as soon as you lose the sharpness of your pencil, that's when it starts getting a little bit sloppy, I guess. I'm just going to add a few. You can see a few of the darker hairs coming through here, so I'm just going to add those in now. It's very therapeutic drawing, well, for me anyway. It's very relaxing. And like I said earlier on, if you have any white hairs or anything, then just go over. I use a Tombow 100 eraser. It's actually pretty cool because it's got a very fine nib on it that you can use just to add in those highlights. Some people like to scrape the paper or scrape off bits of the coloured pencil from the paper. I tend to. I don't tend to do that. I much prefer to use an eraser. Do it that way. And if you wanted to, you can add in your white hairs. That's why these polychromos are pretty good. So you can actually get, if you use a good pressure, you can get some good white hairs on there. But anyway, we'll go back to this. So we're working back, and we want the warm grey 5. Warm grey 5. So again, we're going from root to tip because we're adding in detail. It's all those fine little hairs. Get them in there. There we go. And then we'll just, this is a little bit, this bit's a little bit darker than it is up here. So just build this up. Again, dark to light. Going in the shape of the face. And then, of course, once you've done all of this, you then go back in with your black, and then you would go really dark, adding more depth. So you would just get right in there and add in more depth there. The same on this side. just building the layers until you're happy with the end result. There we go. And we're going to go with Warm Grey 4. Dark to light again. Now, again, these are lighter layers. See? It's building up, it's building up. And then adding in your little hairs again. I do have a darker spot here, so I'm just going to add that in. Oh, totally the wrong angle there, Katie, never mind. There are some darker black hairs that come up here, not there, because that is the lighter grey. Just build that back up again. There we go. Right, I'm going to go straight in there with the warm grey, cold grey 3. Again, dark to light. Some darker bits there. Some definition in the hairs there. And then 2. Sorry, I am rushing this quite a bit. I don't normally go this quick. It's normally a lot slower than this. And then we'll just go with the 1 just to go over those lighter areas. Just gently softening those in. There we are. So that's pretty much the black areas done. But as you can see, there is this brown, so I'm just going to introduce that as well. Now, what I like to do, the brown I like to use, if it's quite red like this, it's quite a reddy, almost like her eyes, like an orangey, reddy brown. I do like to use burnt sienna, and I also like to use burnt ochre, so I like to introduce those in as well. And then when you want to darken it, in the same way that you would do with the black, if you want to darken it, you would use just the walnut brown, or no, that's another walnut brown, sorry. Where are we? I've lost my pencil. Seem to have 3 walnut brown pencils, but not the one I was looking for. Oh, it's because it's so small. Look at that tiny little thing. Burnt umber. So burnt sienna, burnt umber, and the burnt ochre are pretty good. So I like to introduce those. So I'll use those now, and I'll just show you how I would do it. So again, with any coloured pencil, introducing any colours, you would start with the lightest colour. So we're going to just start with the ochre. And it comes up here. Look at your reference photo, don't guess. Look for the lightest part goes up here. And then we'll introduce my favourite brown. We've got the burnt sienna. In there. You can also do it, I was going to say I could have done it on that side as well, but we haven't done that. I'm not going to waste any more of your time, so I'm just going to go with this. And then you want the darkest brown to blend in with your black. Get those details in there. And then, as I said earlier, you would use your sepia, your dark sepia, and then just blend it in with the black. There we are. You can just see it over the top there of the black. There is some more around here as well, and on this bit, but I'm not doing that on this tutorial today because it'll just take far too long. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of blue in there because I'll just show you how it so makes a difference. What blue should we use? I'm going to go with cobalt blue. Let's go for it. So just small amounts to start with. If you want to test your colours, as I say, just do it on your scrap piece of paper. As you can see, it's quite a bright blue, but this is just for demonstration purposes. I would probably have used a more muted blue on there. But it really does make a big difference. Just gentle, you don't need to go crazy, but it works so well. Just blending your cold greys with your black. Going from dark to light again. Add a little bit in there. It's quite blue here. There. And it really does make a difference. So that is a brief demonstration on doing black fur. I have rushed this a fair bit compared to how I would normally work on a portrait, as I said. If you do have any questions at all, then obviously you can ask below, or you can just drop me a message on my Facebook page. I'm normally pretty quick in responding to your messages on there. If you have any questions at all, then please drop me a message or comment below. But this is pretty much the basis of doing your black fur. Every single pet portrait is going to be different. Every face is different, just like with us humans. You know, you'll come across parts of, especially with black fur, that is quite difficult to know which greys to use, which black to use, because you can always go with a really dark grey. Some areas of black fur in some photographs you'll find that they're if I show you this this part of the face, there's very little black in here apart from round her nose. This is mostly all grey that I would use, and sometimes it is going to be trial and error, and sometimes it will only come with experience to know what to use and what not to use. But if you're unsure, practice first. Just keep up your practice. The more you practice, the more you'll come along. Like I say, every single dog is different, so it's good to practice with a different range of fur. You'll notice with Jess's fur, it's very long, very wavy. You'll find some dogs have very short fur, so again, it's a completely different technique to use. You're using shorter strokes rather than the longer strokes. Some fur will pick out highlights, like on Jess's fur, you'll see it more on black as opposed to you would do on the lighter fur. So having that sheen on the black coat is very important, but not necessarily visible on the lighter dogs, so it's harder to get that sheen on the fur. You'll also notice there are some dogs that have a brindle fur, which is of course a multitude of different colours to use. I think on the last brindle dog that I did, I used 26 different colours, 26 different browns and oranges, and it was fantastic to do, but it is a challenge. So if you do have any questions at all, I'm more than happy to do other tutorials. Please drop me a comment below or drop me a message. I'm sorry this took so long. I didn't think it would be this long a video. But of course, any questions, then do give us a shout. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Katie at Personal Artwork. If you do want to visit my Facebook page, I'm Personal Artwork on Facebook, or you can have a look on my website on personalartwork.co.uk. And I'm always available if you want to comment below. I'm more than happy to have a chat. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Be safe. Bye.